right, episode 1 of the Esoteric Archives. We are live in a basement somewhere. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, where we break down all things occult in Canada, paranormal, esoteric, you name it. We got it. Isn't that right, Mike?
That is.
All right. And I'm Andrew.
And I'm Mike, and as you can tell, this is my first time on camera for pretty much anything, so I'm a little nervous to start off with, but
yeah,
I know it'll go great.
Yeah, well, I mean, can't do much about this, but we can. No, we can. We'll do our best here. All right. Yeah, I guess. How do you want to start this off? We came up with a cool little kind of get your toes wet sort of topic to dive into today.
We did. So we figured the best way to kind of start this would be going with Canada's most famous, I guess you'd call it, UFO encounter.
Yeah.
Our Roswell, if you will.
I believe they titled it an incident.
Incident, yes.
Yeah.
Incident.
Yeah. So yeah, the Shag Harbor incident, 1967.
October 4th, 1967, yes.
Right on with the dates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good start.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, I guess we can start with the facts. This is one of the only real documented UFO incidents in Canada that I was able to find.
It is, and it is also the only confirmed. The government actually confirmed that it was a UFO, like in internal RCMP files.
Yeah,
they referred to it as a UFO, the dark object.
The dark object.
Yes.
Yeah. Spooky.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's I guess we can break down the start of the incident, kind of how it came about and the speculative parts of it, and go into our theories a little bit because we have plenty of those.
We do.
So yeah, you want to break down maybe the night of October 4th?
Of course. So October 4th, 1967, height of the Cold War, right in the middle of the Cold War. Yeah. Eastern Canada, off the coast of, not off the coast of Nova Scotia, over the air above Quebec, in between Sherbrooke and Saint Jean.
Right.
There was an Air Canada flight, I believe it was flight 405, about 12,000 feet in the air. And while they were flying en route from Halifax to Toronto, they noticed an object outside of their window. The object was bright, rectangular, large, had a trail of several smaller lights kind of following behind it that were multicolored. Around 7:15, they saw it. By 7:19, 2 explosions had happened and it had disappeared.
Right.
They looked at each other, didn't know what to do. They did end up reporting it. I believe the co-pilot reported it, not the pilot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was the first sighting at the time. Fast forward to 7:31 p.m., I think it was, somewhere around there, in Shearwater, which is it's across the harbor from Halifax.
Right.
And very close to a naval base, Canadian naval base. Another gentleman saw something over the sky, very similar. And then that brings us to the Dory family.
The Dory family. Yeah, so the Dory family I think they were just out on vacation, were they not? They were just kind of cruising in the minivan or
they were
60s pre minivan era, but
I think that, I believe the Dory family, I don't know if they were on vacation or they lived there, but they were on the beach. Yes.
Yeah. And
south of Halifax.
Right. And they weren't the only like there were I believe there were like 3 different instances of people that were just kind of driving in the area and saw something and pulled over.
Yeah, so the Dory family, who were there, that was Mahone Bay, actually, where they're from, which is very close to Oak Island.
Okay,
that's no part of this.
That's another episode.
So they were in Mahone Bay, and there was another sighting off of Sambro, and that was a fishing boat. That was around like 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. They saw things go on for 2 hours, and they saw it from a distance kind of over Halifax, heading towards where Shag Harbor is. And then kind of from Halifax to Shag Harbor, there were numerous sightings along the way. And the last of them being the people in the vehicles, who were driving into Shag Harbor.
Yeah.
And as they drove into Shag Harbor, 2 different vehicles noticed something hovering just above the tree line.
Right.
And it was something metallic with a bit of a sheen, large, rectangular, but also had lights arranged in a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And the lights were also interacting, turning on and off, blinking. It's hard to get an exact eyewitness account.
And I can't remember, was it the Dories that initially called in the RCMP or to the police, or that was just a single guy out returning a girl home from a date or something, wasn't it?
He was one of them. There were numerous calls to the RCMP. There were calls in Halifax at 10 o'clock about things in the sky.
Yeah.
The Dory family, I believe that their son wrote a letter to a local regiment. I can't remember which one, but they didn't tell anyone. That they kind of came out a little bit later that they had seen it.
Yeah.
But the gentleman who was driving home, I think it was Laurie Wickens, he was one of the ones who called the RCMP, and I believe, and there was also a couple other gentlemen that were driving home who in that town, I think everyone knew the RCMP anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they didn't know the RCMP, they'd get to know them soon, because as they followed this thing to Shag Harbor, which is on the southwestern tip, I guess you'd call it, of Nova Scotia. As they followed this dark object, they watched it appear to crash into the ocean,
and that's why he initially called it in, is he thought it was an aircraft an airplane crashing into the ocean.
Yes. I believe all of the witnesses, when you read a couple of the books and look into it a little bit, all of the witnesses at the time believed it was an airplane. They didn't think it was a UFO.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 or 2 did, but from my understanding is most of them thought it was an airplane and thought there were dead people.
So this starts kind of the initial weirdness with this, is because I thought, so I'm referencing Chris Stiles' book, The Dark Object, but the way he describes it is that when it was initially called in, it was basically brushed off. The guy at the station, the sergeant at the station was like, yeah, whatever, okay.
I believe they asked him if he was drinking. They asked Laurie Wickens if he was drinking.
Yeah, and it wasn't until the second or third call that this guy, this cop was, we should go check this out, which to me seems odd. I mean, someone calls in and says there's an airplane that crashed. You would think you'd kind of at least jump in the car.
Yes, I will say, though, if we've both looked into this, there are a lot of sightings around that area. There's a lot of weird stuff in the sky.
Correct. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess the location, right? We had looked, and Maine is right across the water.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of American military sites and Air Force bases in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he lets the RCMP know, and Constable Werbicki, I believe, was the RCMP officer's name. Calls in the other officers, and they all zip down. So I think it was the Irish moss plant. And from this, I didn't realize you could harvest Irish moss. Did you know that?
No, what is Irish moss?
That's a type of seaweed.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, like a kelp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can harvest it for numerous things. Anyway, so they gathered at the Irish moss plant because it had a good view of where the object had went into the water. And at this point, they noticed they could see something bobbing, and they noticed a yellow or orange light, depending on, who the witness was. It's either a faint orange or a brighter yellow kind of light. Yeah. And they watched it bob for a little bit, called in, I believe at this point, search and rescue had been called. Someone had called to see if there's any planes had gone down. I think it's the RCC was in charge of that at the time. And there was nothing.
Yeah, well, and that isn't because the airline pilots hadn't filed the report yet.
No.
That was after they landed.
Yeah, that was an afterthought, that report. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess a few strange details with the crash was that some people saw it go into the water, submerge itself, and some saw it floating on top. That's where it starts to kind of they kind of hum and haw about it, because yeah, there's a couple accounts where they swear that they see it diving.
Yes.
And then they were able to now this is where I can't remember who tracked it underwater, but there was something that tracked the radar underwater after it had crashed.
Yeah, so a couple things about that. First thing is the going close to the water. That was something noticed by a couple other witnesses before it even crashed. I believe the two fishing boats, because there was a group of fishermen off of Sambro,
Mhm.
and there's a group of herring fishermen off of the names escape me, Digby Neck, it's called, which is just north of where the crash occurred.
Okay.
Both of them saw this thing dancing up and down and hovering just above the water, and then it would shoot up again. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
they were the only ones to actually see that before this, but then you're correct. In the crash, there was a discrepancy whether it actually went directly under and crashed or it hovered and kind of slowly sank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess after the RCMP are called, and they mobilize the search and rescue team, what kind of happened next?
So, well, they called. First of all, the Coast Guard doesn't get there for an hour after the crash. It's not that far away, but it took a Coast Guard boat. They didn't get there till 12:30. The crash happened at 11:30 p.m. around 11:30 p.m. So the first people on scene were actually fishermen, local fishermen from Shag Harbor, hopped in their boats to go help out because they thought it was a plane crash.
For sure.
One of the people in the boats was one of the gentlemen in the car. I think his name is Norm Smith, I believe.
Yeah.
And he witnessed the dark object, and he also helped with the search and rescue. So they kind of picked a point to head to look where what they thought would be wreckage or carnage of some sort.
Yeah, expecting the worst.
And they found nothing except for rolling, brackish, shiny yellow foam.
Which which we have some theories about.
We do.
Yeah. So that was the interesting thing is there is a lot of differing views of what happened there, but there's certain consistencies in the story, and that yellow, oily, slicky foam is one of them.
100%. Yeah, that is for sure one of them.
And it's originally when I heard that, I thought, oh, it's just, it's sea foam, and it's the amber lights off the search boats that are it's glistening. It's gonna look yellow, but the oil slick in it is what's strange about it.
Yeah.
From what I remember, it wasn't the sea was fairly calm that night too, right? It wasn't.
So there was an ebb tide, and I believe it's a fairly, I think they said 4 to 6 knot current, so it's a fairly strong current. I don't think anything like here in some spots.
So let's maybe just dive into the search and rescue part of it.
Sure.
Yeah. So something's crashed in the water. We don't know what it is. The RCMP is mobilized, but slowly mobilized.
Yes.
Almost eerily slow, considering the severity of the incident. But
yes.
We have several first eye accounts, witness accounts of people saying they saw something, and the fishermen are now basically heading up the search effort at this point.
They're the only ones on scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
At this moment.
Yeah.
And I also should mention that at some point between the calls going out and the fishermen getting there, the people on shore watch this light slowly sink and disappear. By the time the fishermen get there, light is actually gone. And all they see is this foam. They look everywhere. They see nothing. I believe they looked for 5 hours till like 4:30 in the morning. The Coast Guard shows up at 12:30. They look as well. Nothing. Everyone turns in kind of just before daylight, and then they come back out again the next day. I believe they search for 3 more days and find nothing. No wreckage, nothing, as if it never happened.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess yeah, you would think that there'd be something washing ashore, some parts floating.
You think so?
I think they even dropped, didn't they drop magnets down to try see if there was anything that they could pull up?
Did I didn't know that.
I believe the fishermen were like I believe
Yeah,
some of the fishing boats had
had magnets.
or were trying to scrape the bottom with the anchors or something. I remember reading something like that, but regardless, there was
Yeah,
nothing to be found
no,
outside of this yellowy foam.
no. And I believe it was 5 days later that they called off everything.
Yeah,
That was the end of the search. They stopped looking for it.
yeah,
There's we'll get into all the rumors, but there were rumors that the military came in after to do a more exhaustive search, and they found nothing. Um, I think it was 10 years later, maybe 15, a boat not dredge, sorry, a boat went through the area to try to pick things up on sonar, and they identified a couple areas that someone could maybe go look at and dive that were anomalies or looked weird.
Mhm.
But no one to this day has still been able to even look at it. I believe Chris Stiles, who you mentioned,
Yeah,
tried to dive and take a look at it, but because of weather and things beyond their control, they weren't able to. So
yeah, yeah. Well, and that's so that kind of jumps into some of the eyewitness accounts and all that because Chris Stiles goes pretty hard on trying to interview some of these people that were involved in the crash and the search efforts. Um, I have my opinions on how valid some of those interviews actually were. Not to throw shade at Chris Stiles
not at all. No.
not at all, because I think he actually did shed a bunch of light on this because I had never heard. I mean, we're both Canadian. We had never heard of the Shag Harbor incident in my lifetime. Um, and it's noted as Canada's Roswell. So for
Yeah,
something that's like has that much notoriety, you'd think it would be a mainstay in Canadian lore, you know. But
for sure. And there's almost no literature on it either,
no.
other than his books. He has two, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Other than those books, there's not a whole lot.
yeah.
Well, it's what you find on the internet, and that's pretty much it. So
I think the most compelling interview in his book actually is with one of the it was with one of the divers, one of the people that were apparently on scene diving after the fact,
Mhm.
when it was a covert mission, more of a covert mission, and they were apparently told not to speak about it. They weren't told what they were really looking for, just that they were looking for debris and
Yeah.
a crashed craft of some kind.
And my recollection proves true. Also, the divers were told they were divers who were specialized in finding downed airplanes,
Yeah,
and then they were told they were looking for subs.
yeah,
Like they were given different cover stories as to, and then I believe one of the divers also saw something that he said was not of this world,
yeah,
but he couldn't get into what it was.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I guess I get
one of the many rumors. Sorry.
yeah, no, one of them.
One of the many. Well, and it's bad to call them, not bad to call them rumors, but
Well, I mean, outside of the RCMP report, there really isn't a whole lot to go on other than these interviews, and a lot of these interviews end uh, with the interviewee being kind of pissed off.
yeah.
You know,
and
and
not wanting to.
yeah, I'm not. You know, I've said too much is kind of the
Yeah.
common theme.
There are there any other? I don't think there are any other facts that we need to, like facts. You know what I mean? We'll start to get into.
Yeah, well, because I think the whole thing is like we're not really, the idea wasn't to break down necessarily the Shag Harbor incident itself
No.
and try and debunk or whatever this specific incident, but more so to use it as a springboard and to talk about you know the overall theme of what our show is going to be is
Yeah.
basically like Canada is a global proxy for everything weird, you know. Like shit happens here and we don't know. We don't know. And Canada is this very unassuming country. It's very polite. You know, we're known as a small population, big landmass, and not a lot of exciting stuff happens here. And that's just not the case.
And we've been controlled at different times by two of the I wouldn't say controlled, but two of the biggest countries in the world have had a huge influence
Oh yeah, absolutely.
on us for our entire existence. Right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We're the little brother of the redheaded stepchild,
Pretty much, right?
of the world, I guess.
All military institutions till World War One, right? Where you
Yeah,
part of England or Britain.
yeah,
After World War II, it seems like most of them were infiltrated by the U.S.
and I guess that's probably a good segue to go into some of the theories around this incident. In 1967, there were a few different UAP UFO related incidents across Canada. We had the Shag Harbor incident in October, but prior to that, there was Falcon Lake in Manitoba, which is just outside of Winnipeg, isn't it?
I believe so. And that was the gentleman who touched or was burnt. Yeah,
it was burnt. Yeah, he apparently got close enough to the craft that it
and left a mark, I believe, on his chest.
Yeah. Whether it was radioactive or what it was, no one really knows. But that was, and then even prior to that, there was a crop circle incident just outside of Camrose, Alberta, which I just learned about last night, actually.
And I learned about this morning.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just odd that all of that was happening in the same year. And there is official RCMP reports for each one of those incidents. And you don't just create an official report on anything.
Unless they're not going to do it unless there's something there. Well, at the very least, I would think it goes to show that the person who filed the report, at least in their mind, it was a valid thing.
Yeah.
Right? They wouldn't waste the time
or they were told to.
Or that.
Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is coming off, we're middle of the Cold War. This is coming off the heels of everything with World War II. A lot of military bases and Air Force bases were placed in Canada for strategic reasons. And obviously it's so close, the proximity, right? They can, and a lot of them were research facilities primarily, not necessarily active military bases, right?
Yeah.
So I think, like this is a really good segue to go into sort of the post World War II anti-gravitic technology kind of rabbit hole.
We're going right into what we believe happened, eh?
Yeah. You know what? Like, well, there's plenty of people out there that have talked all about the details of Shag Harbor, and if you want to go listen to them, you can listen to them. I listened to all of them, and they all said the same thing.
Yeah,
and they all skirted past a lot of really big details, like the yellow foam, like the multiple incidences in the same year, like the military bases, like
the fact that it's the middle of the Cold War, and because the story is that it shot over Siberia, went halfway around the world,
right?
No, you know what I mean, over Newfoundland, and that's when the Air Canada pilots saw it, and they didn't see any fighter jets or like North Bay. CFB North Bay is that at the time was the headquarters for that area of NORAD, right? And they're under, I believe it's within 2 minutes of spotting something, if they don't identify what it is, jets are sent.
Right.
At the time, I don't know what it is now, but at the time,
it's probably 30 seconds now. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. and there, it was CFB Baggetville was fairly close by, like not close, but close enough that if they needed in Canada to get jets up and running, I believe that's where they would have came from.
Yeah.
Interceptors, but also in Limestone, Maine, there's a Loring Air Force Base in Maine, and that's right on the border with New Brunswick. It's really close to where this was. As well, and it's a huge Air Force base.
Yeah,
I've actually been there.
Oh yeah,
for a fish concert.
Oh nice.
Yeah,
right on.
A long time ago.
What a place to hold a fish concert.
Yeah,
because I've heard fish is CIA. Anyways, that's a different episode.
Yeah,
we're building off of things already.
So sorry, we were talking about military institutions.
So a lot of those military bases in the area had research grants for they weren't specified as anti-gravitic projects, but like aerospace projects. That's on the books what they were noted as. And this is, like we said, coming off of in the 50s, some of these large projects, Project Magnet, Project Silverbug, where they were experimenting with different metals and different propulsion systems, I guess you would that's basically what it was.
Yes.
Yeah. So we got, you know, the Nazi Bell technology that's everyone knows about these days, which, you know, there's several sightings across the world in that time frame that people said it looked similar to that spinning disc kind of tech. And yeah.
So for just furthering what you're talking about there, so the Avro car, that was another one too. Sorry, when you said the Nazi, the Avro car is another disc spinning thing from the 50s that, although Nazi bells before that,
and that was the spinning magnesium, wasn't it?
It was,
yeah. So this is where we can kind of get into the yellow foam theories.
Well, I will say, so our stance is that it was our stuff.
Yes.
North American, NORAD, Canadian American, that kind of doesn't matter. British.
I get, we should probably preface this with our general idea is that this is military tech. This is not interdimensional. This is not from outer space. This is military tech, likely just being tested, and if it did crash, potentially a failed test, which is, you know, shit happens.
Yeah. Although I personally think it wasn't a crash. I personally think it was mission accomplished. And did you know that this was the first? It's through ChatGPT, so who knows how true it is? But if you search it, and I've tried to look for other incidents, this is the first USO incident recorded, and then from this moment forward, a lot of encounters or things that people saw, it had an element of going into water and taking off to it. Okay. And this was the first time that was noted in an encounter. I think there was a few I think the first time that it was mentioned was the 50s, but no one had really seen something like this happen with a UFO or UAP.
And definitely not traced after the fact.
No. And it's interesting because now a lot of our tech can arguably do that, or some tech.
Well, I mean,
the Tic Tac, right?
Like, the theory is that the underwater bases, that it's, you know, they can use the ley lines and the magnetic ley lines under the water to help kind of like launch these things.
And so that is our theory is essentially that my theory is essentially that that in the early 50s, there's a gentleman named Wilbert Smith, and he worked under Project Magnet. And at the time, he was with the Department of Transport, but he was a brilliant mind for things magnetic and things that I know not a lot about. But he got promoted to this job at Project Magnet, and Project Magnet was formed in the early 50s because there were so many UFO sightings at the time. Mm-hmm. They wanted to look into them, and that was the official reason. The real reason was them actually trying to reverse technology. So
reverse engineering,
sorry, that they had something, whether it was from Roswell crash or from 1952 in Washington, because there's a rumor that something got shot off that.
Right.
Whatever it was, they had this, and they were reverse engineering it, trying to figure out. And that's what Project Magnet was, and that's what Wilbert Smith was interested in. And his idea was that whoever was doing this, because it was at the time they were seeing saucers and whatever, but his whole idea was that it was using gravitational technology, but in combination with the natural, like you said, magnetic ley lines and magnetic flow of the earth.
Yeah.
And using that to propel whatever, wherever.
Yeah. Kind of like naturally occurring like train tracks, like subway lines, right? Like
yes. Yeah. Perfect. So this area around Shag Harbor, coincidentally enough, has a very large magnetic anomaly in the Nova Scotia basin just to the south of it. And there's a lot of weird spots around it too that go up and down, which could be used,
right?
You know what I mean? To I don't even know the proper word, to fuel an aircraft. I don't even think it's fueling it.
Well, yeah, they use propel. Yeah.
Propel it.
I mean, I've seen tech before. I mean, it was just a rendering of it, but you know, where they have these giant tunnels with these big tracks on them, and they're all magnetic, and they're trying to use that to launch aircraft. I know SpaceX was like, before they got their whatever special rockets going, they were playing around with that, and it's effectively, you know, the thing that I thought that would make sense with that is because obviously when you're talking anti-gravitic technology, it's like it's hot. Everything's hot. Everything's spinning. Everything's really hot. So utilizing a natural cooling system like the ocean current and the cold water of the ocean would allow you to actually like get up to speed and launch or land without overheating, is my guess.
Yeah, to that I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean that's
it would definitely help though.
Yeah, and that was one of our theories with the yellow foam too, right? Is with this technology. And again, this is way over my head.
Yeah, mine as well.
Engineering wise, but from what I've read, when you spin magnesium really fast, it can create an anti-gravitic response. So, and that was it in Project Magnet, one of the things they were kind of playing around with. So when I looked up, my instant thought with the foam is that like the oil slick is like, it has to be some sort of chemical reaction. It has to be it's not just sea foam. It's not just like debris or whatever. It's something reacting
for sure
in order for it to actually like stay there.
And there aren't many things that could cause that would also be used on a ship of some kind, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and not without causing some sort of explosion or something too. That's the other thing. Like, there's no explosion. It just crashed, and then a light bobbed, and then there was this foam, and then this thing's gone. So I looked up what the reaction of salt water would be on a very hot magnet or very hot magnesium, and it's basically the same. It would create a yellowish foamy substance. It would create what would appear to be an oil slick, and would also leave like no trace afterwards, because whatever was causing that amount of heat was cooled down so rapidly that it's basically just like, there's the reaction, there's what's left, and there'd be no trace.
And they mentioned it was, when you read the accounts of the fishermen too, it wasn't just that it was yellow and brackish and shine. It was almost like a flowing foam too. Do you know what I mean? It was coming from the depths up, is kind of how they describe it. And that would be it. The vehicle, whatever it was, the dark object going underwater and causing that to.
And you had a theory that I really like with the ocean floor.
Well, that's what started us going down this road. You're trying to think of things that would cause yellow.
That would cause the yellow foam, right? And that's I don't know if you want to break down your theory, but I thought it was cool, and it plays into the underwater base kind of.
So the two theories, but one is that the craft dug into the ground, because that is another thing that could cause yellow sulfur smelling foam, which is.
Yeah, we left out the scent. It smelled like farts.
Would be anaerobic material, which is the stuff under the seabed getting disturbed like quickly. It hasn't had any, presence of oxygen, and it quickly mixes with the oxygen and shoots up this stinky yellow foam. That was one idea that we had. That's kind of, I think, what got us even thinking down this road. And then that would be, is it an underground base?
Yeah.
Did it burrow itself and go away? Possibly. And the other one was bismuth, because bismuth has anti-gravitic properties. It was the object coated in bismuth. This is like a third theory. It could have been coated in bismuth, which under extreme heat from magnet spinning.
And bismuth is just a rare metal.
It's a rare metal, yeah. Bismuth is a rare metal. It's the only metal that's anti-gravitic. It will actually float over a magnet.
That's wild.
If you put it over it, yeah. And consider anyway. And when it heats up, and it can react with water to cause bismuth oxide, I believe it was called, which will give off again a yellow, brackish foam that could smell like sulfur as well.
Yeah,
it could be a mix of all three things. We don't know, but there's definitely something to it, and they definitely not wanted everyone to look at, but that's what I think we should look at, because it's the one thing everyone agreed on
Yeah.
was that there was a yellow foam. Right?
Yeah. And they certainly did nothing to hide any of the details. That's
No.
the other a lot of the time with these kinds of things, even with the Roswell story, is did they recover a body? Didn't they? Did they recover the craft? Didn't they? There's pictures, but not really. There's accounts, but not really. And all the firsthand accounts are military, whereas we have civilian accounts on this
Fishermen,
a
whole bunch of fishermen,
whole bunch. And yeah, so it's like they wanted people to see this. If because if it is their tech, they obviously have a way to hide it because we don't see it every day. So they wanted people to know what was going on, and this sort of like comes off the heels of the slow drip disclosure that was started in the late 50s, and likely as a way to distract people, or look over here, shiny light, away from the fact that they were building this future tech that for the military, right? Like you don't want the general public knowing.
No,
but obviously people see things, and if so what better way to hide it than
it's a UFO.
It's a UFO. It's not from here.
Yeah, UFOs were really hot then.
Yep. Yeah, they so I think I think going off of this, it's almost the other thing I wanted to really bring up was just that after this, sightings sort of stopped for a while. There's really not a lot for the remainder of the 60s that's documented until you get into like the mid 70s.
Correct. And it had been something for like about 15 years. Like there were numerous sightings all over North America, not, although I believe Canada still per capita had a lot more than the US, but
I think Canada even today, if I read correctly, has more UFO sightings per capita. Are we allowed to call them UFOs anymore? Is it UAP?
Everyone knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. From that point forward, well, we mentioned before they changed a little bit. So when people did see them, they were a little bit different than they'd been, but they did kind of stop. And coincidentally, in 1968 was when, like the year after, is when the US pulled out of Canada, essentially. So like all of Newfoundland, there's a whole bunch of bases that were all American built, run, and owned. 1968, they pulled out, gave them all back to back to Canada. So they handed them back over to Canada. And in 1968, also the armed forces unified. So I think the Navy and the Air Force, like they all became one.
Right.
And a lot of things got restructured. And
so do you know if any of these bases still operational, just under Canadian control now, or
some are, some aren't. Some are community airfields. Like it's really weird too when you look at some of those places in Newfoundland. It doesn't have a lot to do with the story, but it's weird just seeing this town like in the middle of nowhere in Newfoundland, and they have 3 huge landing strips that can have supersonic jets land on them.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there not being used anymore. It's weird.
Yeah. Infrastructure for infrastructure's sake. Like, what's the point, kind of thing.
So what I was trying to get to, sorry, is just the sightings stopped the same time the military kind of slowed down or changed or whatever as well, right? And I think just like when people in the 1890s saw, or 1880, whatever, the beginning of when people seeing airships.
Yeah.
When no one had heard of any, even could conceive of what it was, they're seeing airships. And then a short while later, there's airships.
Yeah.
I think it's been like that the whole time. And I think this is another example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost makes me wonder if they had other they had hoped for a different outcome with it. Like they'd hoped the story would take off more. They'd hoped that people would ask more questions and they'd be able to kind of double down on it. But it seems like people kind of lost interest.
When you look in the archives on it, there's newspaper articles from a couple papers in the area for a couple of days, and then that is all.
Yeah.
And then it isn't brought up again really anywhere until Chris Stiles started, I think, asking. a couple questions and whatever, I believe in the early to mid 90s, and then it started to kind of pick up a little, but yeah.
Yeah, well, because I think even
No one cares.
Chris Styles, like the reason he even brought it up again was because he saw it mentioned in an episode of Unsolved Mysteries or something, one of those types of shows.
I believe it was Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, and it kind of like jogged his brain a little bit of when he apparently witnessed the incident from his home, and his story is that he saw it, I believe, from his bedroom window, and then he ran outside and tried to chase it down, kind of thing.
And I maybe had some interaction with it, or I can't remember. Sorry.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember if he said he had any but that's the other thing is like his story is so intense about how he chased this thing down and how he saw it and whatever, but then it just totally slipped his mind until he saw this episode of a show where they were talking about it. And that's where my speculation kind of starts with it again, where it's like, okay, was he instructed to bring this up again? I'm not gonna, I'm not trying to throw shade at Chris Styles because I actually enjoyed the book.
Yeah.
And I thought it's great that he was able to interview a bunch of people about it and shed light on this again. And I know that he's, I mean, at the very least, he's responsible for the town kind of having this resurgence of tourism and stuff surrounding this incident, which is kind of neat, for a small town. But that's kind of all aside, because it's, he's the one with the book, not me. So
he did get everyone to start talking about it again, but I do agree with you. It's interesting that it's allowed to be talked about, and I haven't seen anyone else do it. I'm interested. I wish we could have gotten a hold of Grant Cameron. Or Grant Cameron, if you're watching, please contact us.
Yes, we'd love to do an episode with you and interview you. Hey.
Because I would love to know his thoughts on it. And I'm curious why maybe I just haven't found it. Anything where he mentions Shag Harbor or what he thinks happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because he does compile a lot of books about this as well.
Yeah.
And also, I was going to say nothing against Don Ledger's with MUFON.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. I mean, MUFON's out there doing God's work, so we'll let them do their thing. But I really think that like the whole reason that I wanted to kind of attack this one wasn't, like I said, wasn't because of the actual UFO incident itself, because it's not, it's a fairly run of the mill story. A bunch of people saw weird lights in the sky outside of the crash element of it.
Yeah.
Which is where the mystery kind of lies. It's it really is just your typical UFO sighting, but it's the timing of it that's interesting. The location of it, just with the proximity to all the other military bases and all the testing that was going on at the time, all the projects that had apparently wrapped up after World War II with this type of technology. And then just the narrative itself, how, like we said, like it kind of disappeared and then it's brought up again, sort of like, in the X-Files era, when that all, everyone's starting to get into the paranormal again and starting to get into these things. And then they just slow drip this incident again.
Get it back into our minds.
Yeah. And I mean, it plays into, we can follow the slow drip disclosure thing all the way up to today, where now it's all of a sudden in the news again.
Are they just going to disclose themselves at some point?
Well, see, I maybe unintentionally. I kind of think that they're the whole. Yeah, I'm that's where I'm still uncertain. Is like I'm pretty sure that what people are seeing is their tech, it's ours, it's military tech. It's
100%.
Yeah, like nothing's really.
Well, I shouldn't say 100. Nothing's 100, but
nothing's gonna convince me otherwise at this point.
Yeah.
Unless I see a little green man walk through that door right there, I'm pretty sure this is just hey buddy. but and where this goes today is like, what happened to these projects? What happened to Project Silverbug? What happened to Project Magnet? What happened to the people that worked on these projects? A lot of them weren't even Canadian to begin with. They were American or they were German.
Yeah. Well, Project Magnet, morphed into like it got canceled in Canada, but the US took over Project Magnet and had their own, and it was Dr. Vannevar Bush and MJ12 apparently who were the ones who dealt, like the Majestic 12 were the ones who took Project Magnet to the US, and it was also around the same time as the Avro car we talked about earlier was in, like, it was in that early 50s. I think it was like 53, 54 kind of.
Yeah, because all these projects had wrapped up by like 58, 59.
Yeah.
They were done.
Yeah.
Apparently defunded.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, and a lot of these engineers went on to work for like Boeing, Bombardier, Raytheon, like major weapons manufacturers and aerospace companies and stuff like that. So, you know, it's all proprietary, but it's also all up here. So, you know, goes with them wherever they go. Yeah. And what better way to kind of like de-escalate the situation or whatever than to diversify the information outward.
100%.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's really interesting that people don't seem to want to break down the individual parts of this incident and like question anything. It's like, oh, the RCMP wrapped it up.
That's what they said.
Yeah, and because, you know, we can all trust the RCMP with their stories.
Yeah. They wouldn't just say something to make it go away, would they?
No, never.
Especially not in the Maritimes.
No.
Yeah. I don't know how anyone can, I shouldn't say it, it's going to sound, we've done a lot of research and reading about it, right? And after doing all of it, I don't know how anyone, even if doing a bit of research, could look at this and be like, that is for sure a UFO. Like that's, you know what I mean? That's it. First of all, because the RCMP admitted it was in internal documents, but they still said it. The technology that we talked about earlier, like it's clear that Canada and the US and I'm sure everyone in the world was looking at this sort of technology, right, at the time.
Yeah.
And testing it out. There's a magnetic anomaly there. It's probably something that's going to involve magnets. It somehow gets past all of NORAD.
Yeah.
There's a radar station, the Camp Barrington radar station is, I think it's 12 miles away from Shag Harbor. And it's like at the time was a major part of NORAD. And then there's the one we didn't get fully into the rumors, which is probably a good thing. But there is part of the rumor was a truth that I forgot to bring up, and that was the Shelburne, the CFB Shelburne. So at the time of the incident, 40 kilometers away, past where Shag Harbor is, there's a town called Shelburne, and just 10 kilometers away from that on the ocean, there's a road called Government Point. And there was what was said to be an oceanic marine biology research station. Yeah. And that's what was always said was there. Well, in the mid 80s and the early 90s, it was declassified. And it turns out it was not. It was part of a NATO SOSUS station, I believe. It's like it was to detect subs.
Oh, okay.
So it was a substation.
Yeah.
Because that Shelburne in the 40s, like 1940s, was a deep water submarine station for patrolling the Atlantic, right, during World War II.
Because it has one of the steepest drop-offs of ocean floor, I believe, of anywhere.
I think so, pretty close there. And I know it's a very deep, you can get big boats apparently into that thing. So what I'm getting to is it's my opinion that this secret oceanic or oceanographic research facility, which actually was a NATO installation, I believe that's where everything went to. In my opinion. So I believe that's what I want to talk about the rumors. A bunch of the rumors were that there were a couple days after what happened in Shag Harbor, there's a lot of activity around Government Point. There were roads blocked off. Public wasn't allowed to get through. This is from multiple people through Chris Styles' book. So we can't confirm it, but this is what has been said. They also noticed a lot of ships out there as well. And the rumor was, and it's what you'll see if you look at it on the internet, that there were two ships, or I shouldn't say ships, two crafts underwater. So the one that had crashed and then one had followed it shortly after. So the belief was that the one that crashed in Shag Harbor went to Government Point and was floating there, and they were studying it for a while, and there were all these ships, and then another one came, apparently helped it or fixed it or something, and then took off. And this was in front of some people. This is the story.
Right.
In Chris Styles' book,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. Is that where the lighthouse was?
So the lighthouse is on an island just in, if you can, it's on an island just off the coast of Shelburne would be the best way of describing it. Really close to Shelburne. It's very close to there. Yeah, that was the lighthouse.
That was the strangest account in the Chris Styles book that came out of kind of nowhere.
And it was the end. I think it was the last chapter in the first book. Yeah, yeah.
It threw me off because I almost like I reread the chapter before it because I was like, did I miss something? Because this sort of just comes up. So basically, what he's saying is that there's an account of out of nowhere these divers come up out of the water near the lighthouse and are like kind of disheveled and like, oh, don't tell anyone you saw us.
And they said they were commandos. Yeah, I think they boarded in the Zodiac, said they were commandos.
Yeah.
The guy who saw them said they were very nervous and didn't seem like commandos. They had British accents.
Yeah.
The theory was that it was a NATO exercise.
Yeah.
But the only, that would be if that guy knew for sure that happened on October 4th, right? Like something clearly, then the military was involved with something.
Yeah, for sure.
But he can't recollect if it was exactly that day. That's the issue with it.
Yeah.
His wife says it was, but he couldn't remember, I believe is what it says in the book. So
yeah.
Like as I told my theory for a little bit was they were the ones who came out of the craft.
Well, yeah. So that was, I mean, we've discussed this too, is that like, what if, obviously we've settled on this is our military tech or American military tech, whatever, but
testing USO capability, I guess, with using anti-magnetic technology.
Yeah.
That's what
anti-gravitic magnetic propulsion technology.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. But so was this a dogfight scenario? Did it legitimately crash? Like, obviously mistakes happen and maybe this aircraft was, and that could play into the fact that there were multiple sightings and they were slightly different too. Is like maybe there were a few craft in the air at the time and they were running some sort of drill, some sort of dogfight scenario, and one just happened to malfunction and crash. And these British swimmers came out of the craft and don't tell anyone you saw it.
Yeah, they would be pretty stunned, I would think, if that.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. It's too bad that there's that story's so up in the air because that would really kind of solidify it
100%.
But yeah, so yeah, the Shelburne, there's just too many connections, and too much involvement from the authorities, official involvement from the authorities for it to be an accident.
Agreed. And all of the whistleblowers seem to be from some sort of authority as well, whether it's the military or Coast Guard, you know what I mean? Where they can only reveal so much to a point, but not just that little bit that'll get you over the edge to prove.
Yeah. And where we're at with this now is, I mean, basically there's a nice little museum, a little Shag Harbor UFO museum that you can go visit.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of the witnesses are still alive.
A few of them are. Yeah.
Yeah. They're getting up there in age, but they're
I would think so.
Yeah. Cause I think the youngest one was like 18 or something when,
or the Dories. I bet you the Dory. Yeah. One of the Dories was probably the youngest, but you're correct. Yeah. 18. So it's been 58 years or coming up on 50 years.
So they're all up there. So, the people that actually have the stories we're running out of people to actually ask. So maybe we should make our way out there at some point and
do a show. Yeah. I would love to go to Shag Harbor to do a show.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so we've done a good job, I think, of breaking down what happened and our theories with it. I don't think there was really a whole lot else as far as the
I wanted to add one if I could.
So yeah,
just about the disposal of the, because that was the whole, so if it was our stuff and if it was a crash or if it was, say, it overheated, which I think is most likely, right? You're testing something magnetic it's going to give you temperatures you may not be prepared for or whatever. Or maybe it was something where the pilot lost consciousness. Who knows?
Yeah.
Whatever it was. Um, there is a story, and it is in a newspaper, and you can find a copy of it. That the day after, the day after, or 2 days after Shag Harbor, a large barge left Shelburne. So it's a weird article about talking about this huge barge that's leaving Shelburne to go to Rochester, New York, carrying an atomic furnace.
Okay.
And it mentioned that this barge was in town for repairs on this day, and then left 2 days later with this atomic furnace. And in Chris Styles' book, he does point out that that's a really quick turnaround to get repairs done on a barge. Usually they're in dry dock for a while. It takes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So his theory is that it took something alien out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what happened. There is an article about it. I don't know why you can find it still. No one's alive to ask questions about it.
Yeah.
But I would say, my opinion, that's what took the military tech out. That's how it was gone. Well, people are looking for it at Shag Harbor, looking for,
and it would have probably had like a naval escort,
right?
For sure. Right?
And no one's going to know about it.
Yeah.
I know we're getting close to, I can't understand how, if it was really a UFO, or it really was anything other than us, why there wouldn't be a military response during the most, think about the world we live in now.
Oh yeah.
The world then, although I wasn't alive, but when you read it, the Cold War was something that was on everyone's mind all the time, right? The Soviets, the Russians.
Oh, I mean, we shoot down.
No different than now.
We shoot down weather balloons, for God's sake.
Right? Yeah. And another side note, that Wilbert Smith and Project Magnet, they were the original people talking about putting up weather balloons in the 50s. They proposed putting up weather balloons and shining lights at them and lighting off magnesium to see what the reaction would be of the people of Ottawa. They wanted to do it in Ottawa. And
just to gauge public reaction.
It was something they wanted to try out. How will they react if they see this? And it's mentioned in internal government documents in Grant Cameron's book.
It's the original New Jersey drone thing, right? That's and that's what it kind of feels like at this point. Everything just sort of feels like a litmus test.
Exactly.
How are people going to react? How far can we take this before we freak them out too much?
Yeah.
Slow drip, and to today, where we have apparently this nuclear powered interstellar object on its way to Earth.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. Which is,
I break down the name on that object.
3-Eye Atlas. I had a little ping about that one. 3-Eye, Third Eye, Atlas, Globe, Global Awakening. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Just gonna throw it out there because nothing is a mistake and nothing is by accident. So not in today's world.
For sure, no. And we're coming up on to 60 years, I guess, for Shag Harbor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 60 years of the slow drip of disclosure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you think just the evolution of it in even popular culture, television, movies, things like that, to the point, how desensitized are you to it now? Right? You think about, I remember being a kid, and the first thing I saw, and the first time I saw something weird in the sky, I was probably 10 years old, sitting outside with a friend, and saw the typical orange orb looking thing, and then lights shooting out from out of it, and then back in, and then off it went. And I mean, I was 10 or 11, and it didn't freak me out at the time because I was already so desensitized to UFO stuff. And I mean, my dad, I grew up with that stuff, but at the same time, you look now, we have movies like Prometheus and things like that where if a mothership showed up, do you really think people would be that shocked? It'd be weird, but I actually don't think it would have the same reaction as it would have had 60 years ago,
because they've slowly let us onto it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think that's because, we've had this discussion a few times, but your belief is that it's a mix of something else and our tech, or it's just our tech, or it's just something else? My belief is that it's a mix of both, mostly ours, but sometimes it is something.
You buy into the reverse engineer or kind of like,
I just don't know where they would have got all. I don't get me wrong. I know that the scientists they imported from Germany after the war were quite intelligent when it came to designing things. It's crazy the jump in technology. I'm of the belief that it was somehow someone got that stuff from somewhere, and
I mean, I like the portal theory. I don't think like that's the thing is I do believe that there are other beings out there, and I think that they are likely interdimensional, maybe of a spiritual nature more than anything. And that's where the portal stuff comes in. So maybe they do take these craft through portals. Maybe that, you still need a physical vessel to travel through it. That could be the case. In which case, it's likely that there has been something that's crashed and we're reverse engineering it or whatever. But I mean, there also are people out there that are a million times more intelligent than I am and understand things. Just because I can't fathom how something works doesn't mean that someone else can't, right? I have some friends that can do some crazy things with electronics that I can't even wrap my head around. So
you set this room up, it would take me 2 weeks to do that.
This was a lot of Googling and ChatGPT, but no, I think I think they're slow dripping it. We're gonna see some major changes here soon, is my guess, and that's kind of why it's fun to start, or episode 1 being this one, because it's sort of a softball topic, UFOs and whatever. It's but at the same time, it's such a great foundation for our sort of our thesis to this show, I guess, is where we're like, don't count Canada out. There's so many strange things that happen here, and we are the testing ground for so many things, whether it be this UAP disclosure, MK Ultra, we're going to get into all that stuff as well. Even just our ties to the crown and the whole like Rosicrucian background history. Like Canada is just it's so encircled by high strangeness and no one knows it. So that's why we're here. We're here to expose this stuff and hopefully get people interested in it and asking some questions. And we got lots of good stuff coming. And if anyone wants to be on the show, wants to be interviewed, got a cool topic you want to discuss, we're definitely open. We would love to kind of dive into the community out there and be the Canadian bros.
and kind of share with you what we've learned and also learn from you guys as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What time are we at here? We did an hour, buddy.
Wow,
it's been an hour.
That did not seem like an hour at all.
Not at all. No.
Can I fold in?
Absolutely, whatever you want.
The MK Ultra, because you mentioned him, the head guy on top of Project Magnet, like the one everyone reported to, Dr. Ormond Salant, also was the head of MK Ultra.
Really?
In charge of, well, I don't know if you'd say in charge of. He was a higher up. Similar, he's the Vannevar Bush of Canada, so he was
right.
But I believe more the MK Delta, which was something to do with MK Ultra, but something different. But we'll get into that another time.
Yeah, that's a different episode.
Just wanted to tease that in.
But I don't know. This was fun.
It was. And thanks for joining us, I guess, from the land of the tall trees and the high seas.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that, eh?
Yeah, good one.
I'm Mike and
I'm Andrew.
Have a great night.
See you next time on the Esoteric Archives. Take care.